Okay, so we're gonna be talking about the topic, and of course, I'm gonna be allowing you to just give your introduction. You're on.
Okay, so just a minute. All right, so in terms of being role models, we see what is happening to our students in schools today. It's not very pretty at all, and we would think that we students would, since we have teachers, so many teachers in the sphere of teaching, we would have them being more impactful,
Yeah.
And more, impressionable on our students. But we constantly see a decline in students' behavior. And these are actually my views. I'm not sure if other persons are actually seeing this. Just want to make that open that window up. Yeah. So just based on my observation, I'm not seeing any progression as it relates to students' behavior and students' development on a mass scale in Jamaica. And what I believe is that students are not, if when we look into the teaching, into the community of teaching, realize that teachers are not being empowered, right, to be effective role models to our students. And there are a number of reasons why I say this, and I'm just going to highlight about five of these reasons, right? So when we talk about being a role model, right, we talk about an image that someone can actually look up to, correct?
Yeah.
And basically, when we look at what's happening in the school community now, we recognize that teachers are overburdened.
Yes.
Right? So this takes me to the workload, right? I do not think that enough attention is being placed on workload that teachers have to go through. And based on my experience, I won't state which school I'm actually at the moment, but based on my experience, I realized that teaching has become, I'm not sure if it has always been, but it has become more administrative based than to be focused on students learning. Of course, we talk about the lesson plan and the action plan and all that stuff, but when you put all that energy into attendance, these documents, these meetings, it really wears the teacher down. You understand? And we'll touch on that a little bit later. My second point is discipline in schools.
Yes.
Yeah, I spoke about students' behavior, right? And when you really look into it, you realize that classroom management seems to be a thing of the past as it relates as it relates to teachers being able to truly control their classrooms. And this is mostly in the non-traditional high school spheres.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this happens in the traditional high school as well. Yeah, but the schools that I have been to, I realized that there is a decline in the discipline of students, right? And I believe that one of the reasons is because students are basically the government, and I may take a little heat for this, the government have actually shifted the classroom management from the authority or the authoritative figures of within schools and given it to students. So now we have students, we know that when it comes to children, there's so much you can bargain with them and no more. You understand what I'm saying? You really cannot totally negotiate with students. In order for students to learn, they have to see you as an authoritative figure, right? And who can actually impart knowledge, and not just students. This is actually a human thing. You understand what I'm saying? You're more likely to take information from someone who you perceive to be more in the authoritative spectrum than someone who is on your level.
Yes.
Am I wrong or am I right?
You're on the right track.
Right.
Right track.
And this takes me to the next point, wherein there are no true accountability for parents. speak about students being in in the school environment for most of their day, the day, right?
Yes.
Most of their lives, they're in the school environment because I mean they go to school and they only spend a little time with mommy and daddy and back to school, right?
Yes.
And teachers are being charged
Yes.
with grooming these students. Now we know, as my grandmother would say, that you have to dance a yard before you dance abroad. You understand?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
there's so much that a teacher can actually impart to a student for as it relates to discipline
Yes.
and knowledge, right?
Yes.
And no more. You understand? The rest comes down to the core values implemented within that student from home. And so I believe that sufficient accountability is not being given to parents as it relates to their upbringing. We don't even have true programs that actually teach parents how to, you know, handle their children or how to discipline their children effectively to get the best results. You see?
That's a good
My
point
point-
there. That's a good point there. Go ahead.
Right. My point number 4, right, speaks to the depleting value of our currency, right? You have so many teachers who owe student loans. You understand? I've seen so many teachers taking their lunch to school. It's not even funny. You understand? And this doesn't. It's not just about the depletion of the currency. It also speaks to the salary of our teachers, right? Teachers are not being paid for the amount of work, and let's not even talk about the amount of work. I do not believe that teachers are actually being paid in a way that will allow them to be effective role models to students. Because when a student look outside
Yes.
of school and that student see people who are not teachers, see people who are not even trying to give them quote unquote valuable information, people who are on the corner, right? Driving some of the highest class cars. And I'm not saying that a teacher should live like a drug dealer. No. You understand? All I'm saying is that when a student look into the school environment and realize that the standard of those who are imparting knowledge to them for them to have a better future, their standard of living is so low in comparison to those who are out there saying, okay, bang the line. You see? Then why would they want to look at a teacher to say, okay, yeah man, I want to be like that person, I want to become a teacher. You see what I'm saying there?
I see where you're getting. I see where you're getting at. Very interested indeed. In case you just joined us, you're tuned to Artworks Blazing FM. And of course, this program is Love Vibe. This particular segment is called Community Scope. And of course, the topic is very, very intriguing indeed. And the topic, of course, according to our special guest, of course, Mr. Crawford, he's touching some very, 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 very hard topic right here. And this topic today is, in this segment, are teachers being empowered to be effective role models to students? I would say no to my observation. So I'm going to be allowing, of course, Mr. Crawford in about another 2 minutes or so, because we have some text messages here, of course, sending some question to Mr. Crawford. And of course, persons out there, it's really, really, really intrigued. Go ahead.
Right. Yes, thank you again, my friend. And this takes me to my final point, which should cover the 2 minutes.
Yes.
I realize that teaching is very time consuming. You see, when teachers receive, let's say, holidays, any teacher who is very involved in school will be able to tell you that it's not a true holiday. You understand?
Yes.
Because that holiday, it's like a break to prepare for teaching again. And I'm not saying that some do not actually benefit from the time given in those holidays. You understand? But a good amount of teachers, they take that time to make like PowerPoint slides to increase their scope of knowledge. I know that I do. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the system doesn't allow for teachers to even have like side jobs, really. You understand? It's very difficult. Remember that a lot of these, you have a lot of teachers in the community in teaching right now who are women, and you know you have a lot of single parents out there.
A lot of
You
them.
see, and we're talking about you paying rent, right? You taking care of your child, you paying like a car loan. Because to be honest, I'm not trying to be superficial, but it looks really bad when a teacher who's in the system for like how many years and cannot afford to purchase a car. You see, any form of transport, not even by choice. You understand what I'm saying?
I am getting very clearly, and of course that drives me to ask you a question, because all the four, of course, pointers that you stated, and what do you think all of this boils down to? Because everything have to come from a cause, and what causes all these things, and who should be blamed? Talk to us about that in your vision and in your assessment in Jamaica in education, and in a lot of areas in Jamaica are falling down. So you can go ahead, of course, Mr. Crawford, and of course give us your views and all of the pointers that you're pointing out that we have in a problem. Where can these problem be? How can these problem be fixed? And of course, which area and who should you point to fix these problems?
Okay, that's a very good question, my friend. As much as I hate to play the blame game, I would like to assign a little bit of blame to both the government and our teachers themselves.
Definitely.
And I think I may take a little bit of heat for this, but just hear me out to those who are listening.
Yes.
I do not believe that the government places sufficient value on education in this country. Yeah?
Yes.
As it relates to teachers being able to be effective role models
Yes.
for students, right? If they did, then policies would be put in place to ensure that teachers are mobilized, right, in the right way, effectively, right? You have so many schools, public schools, that pretty much lack significant resources.
Yes.
You understand what I am saying? Just simple lab resources. You understand? The classrooms are all overcrowded, and that's a big factor there as well. You understand what I'm saying? So I do not think that enough attention is being placed on teachers and the school environment for kids to actually come in, see teachers as you know a pattern that they should actually
I believe so.
follow. And right, on the other hand, it comes down to teachers as well.
Yes.
Right? Based on my experience, and I'm trying to choose my words very carefully because I know that these topics can be very hard.
It is
to the ears of some people.
It is a very hot topic indeed.
Yeah. Now, teachers, regardless of, I'm just going to say right out, I do not think that teachers actually stand up for themselves the way that they should. Based on my experience, I realize that the environment is a bit of a passive environment. I'm not sure if it's because, women are more on the fairer side of things. You understand what I'm saying? And we have, schools are more, female based now and so forth, as it relates to the amount of the gender employees.
Yes.
Right? But I realize that there's a passive essence there. So it's like I can't bother with this with this problem. I really can't bother with this, so we just have to take it and go on. You understand? We just have to take the 4% increase. You understand? Which will push a lot of teachers over the tax threshold, and they will lose more than the increase that they just received when taxed. So that's actually a phenomenon that happened.
So they rather to take the crumbs than I'm getting for them full potential. You understand, the maximum pay, and that is not good at all. And I'm telling you, we're facing a time. We're going to be taking a small break, and of course, when we come forward, we're going to be eating with much more right here with Mr. Crawford, and on his hot topic. And we're going to be sharing some text messages with you also. And I'm going to be asking Mr. Crawford a very, very interested question when we come back. So stick and stay. Don't you go nowhere. It's getting interested right here. Hot topic on Artworks Blazing FM. Well, our topic today is very intriguing, very interesting topic, right here indeed. Are teachers being empowered to be effective role models to students? Big question. And of course, with us today is talk about this topic is, of course, the one and only Vincenzo Crawford. Welcome to Artworks for the second segment, sir. Welcome back. You spoke about, of course, the teachers, of course, to be blamed, a part of the problem there. And of course, you talk about the government. You also shed some lights on some issues, four issues that you pointed out. And of course, I have a texter right here who texts in and says she'd like you to comment on the first issue that you share, of course, with the radio audience, and she wanted to hear it that she can comment more because she just hear the last part of it. So she would like you to shed some more light on the number one issue, of course, that you shared earlier on. You're on, Sir Crawford.
All right, my friend. I appreciate you for having me again.
You're
As it
welcome.
relates to that first issue, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a number one issue. It's just the first issue that I highlighted,
Hmm.
Um, the workload, right?
Yes.
And teachers are actually overburdened, right, with work. Um,
Yes.
or a teacher who actually cares about their students. And I keep saying that because I am not disregarding the fact that you have some teachers, and probably a very few, who are, you know, pretty much sitting in the system and they are not doing their due diligence. You understand?
Yes.
So I'm aware of that. But for the most part, um, the workload is very high. And I realized based on my observation that teachers seem to be experiencing more administrative duties than ever. You understand? There's the paperwork of this, the paperwork of that. And there's something I sat down one day and I realized that if you're a teacher from grade 7, 8, and probably 9, right?
Hmm.
As long as you submit the necessary documentation,
Yes.
right? And you ensure that your appraisals are checked. You don't necessarily have to care about the students learning, and that is a big hole, a big gap in the teaching community right now in the profession. You
Hmm.
understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. So I believe that we could hold teachers to more accountability. However, what I believe that teachers truly need are probably a solution to this would be having teachers have teacher assistants. You understand? Probably not for all teachers because I know the government is going to complain that the budget and blah blah blah. But you cannot look away from the fact that in order for teachers to actually be very effective in the classroom and be able to focus on teacher-student relationship, yeah, because it's not just teaching that occurs in the classroom. We have a lot of conflict that occur in the classroom. You understand? With the kind of students that we have today, we have fights breaking out in the classroom, and teachers have to deal with that. You understand what I'm saying? So I believe that the implementation of teacher assistance would actually help to mitigate, some of the that issue, some of the workload, lower the workload, and
Yes.
increase teacher effectiveness. So we may move even closer to becoming more of role models, yeah, or more effective role models to our students.
And in order to have all of that, I think one of the big issue is that the pay for the teachers has to be better. And you spoke about, of course, fight breakout in the classroom. It show you a lot of disrespect that the student has for the teacher. And of course, I even have get a message from a texter right here saying that, of course, she experienced, she says, my name is Melanie. And good afternoon, good morning, whatever time it is there to Mr. Crawford, your special guest, and you, Mr. Solomon. And she says she thinks the topic is very, very, very interesting indeed. But one of the things that she's looking at is the respect for the teacher in school, and that caused a lot of teachers. She said a lot of teachers have left. Sorry about that. A lot of teachers have left, of course, to foreign country um, to further their, work, and not staying in Jamaica because of the government not putting things in place. And she says that she questioned to Mr. Crawford, what do you think can put in place to make teachers to stay in Jamaica? Wow, that's not my question, Crawford. It's one of the Texas.
I am going to put it very simple, my friend.
Yeah.
Safer environment, because we speak about a safe environment for students, but we don't seem to speak about a safe environment for teachers,
Yeah.
right? Especially with the generation that we are dealing with today, right? So safer environment, better salary, and more resources. And those are the three things that I believe would definitely put teachers in a more comfortable position to remain in Jamaica.
Yes. Wow. This is getting very interesting. There's a lot of calls keep coming in, a lot of text messages, and I'm going to share another one here with you. And this one comes from, of course, Suzette, and Suzette Aves all the way, of course, from Miami, and she's texting from Miami, and I listened to Artworks Blazing FM, and she said, very good topic, and there are much more going on in Jamaica that we need to address, but in this situation, for the respect of the role model of the teachers, she thinks that it is caused from the government. Wow. What do you think about that, Mr. Crawford? Is it so, or if it's not so? Wow. They're coming in fast and furious.
That's actually a good question. But I'm not entirely. I understand where she's coming from. I'm not entirely in agreement that it's wholly and solely from the government. Because remember that we're within a democratic constitution, right? Or what seems to be a democratic constitution. Based on recent events, I'm forced to say that, right? And the majority rules. Now, the government, they do have some, hand in this, right? However, I do believe that parenting is also a factor. You understand what I'm saying? Now, if you have, here's where catastrophe begins.
Yeah,
right?
go ahead.
We have parents at home, more than likely young parents who are not as, vigilant over their children like our parents probably was. You understand? And then we have a government who's saying, okay, you cannot raise your voice to a child. Or if a child decides to behave a certain way, you can't even, let's say hold the child's hand and ask the child, pull the child to walk with you to the principal's office. You understand what I'm saying? Basically, and you still have a government who's telling you that a child can come to school wearing whichever hairstyle they want to wear or whichever uniform they want to wear. The fact of the matter is they are preparing children for a society that they will not be able to function in. Because when you check out what the government is saying, you can actually students can actually do in schools, and then check what the employment industry requires. When a student leaves school thinking that, okay, I could have done this in school, and then they go into the working world, they will be unemployed. You understand what I'm saying? Coupled with the fact that they already do not have good upbringing from the home. So I believe that it's a little bit of more of both.
So you say it's double trouble. It's not just a one-hand thing, It's, of course, the parent have to step up to the plate. And what we also need, of course, we're still going to point at the government. They need to see if they can put things in place for the parent to be trained, of course, to deal with their children. and of course, is very, very interested. It is a little time that we have about 5 minutes left, of course, in this segment, and so let me just go ahead and share some of the text messages that persons can able to get at you. And this is another one from, of course, Rushy B. Rushy B is saying good afternoon, good morning, good night, whatever time it is there. Mr. Solomon, enough respect to, of course, your special guest, Mr. Crawford. And I would like to know, is Mr. Crawford a teacher or is he uh, a minister of education? Oh, wow. But she'd like to know if the government and the teachers and the parent is of the problem. Um, it's supposed to be the government to put all the implementation and, of course, the plans in place to solve all this problem. What do you think, Mr. Crawford?
Um, uh, well, I'm an educator.
Yes.
I'm not 100% sure as to the question being asked.
No, she's saying that to the problem that is happening right now.
Right.
Who should put the implement, of course, the issues or the solution in place to solve all these problems that will speak to the teacher, that will speak to the student, and that will speak to the parent. Who should put?
Okay. So I believe that the government should make the first move.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? Because you parents need to be sensitized as it relates to children upbringing of their children. Yeah. Institutions need to be reformed. Right. Teachers need to be duly compensated. Right. And all that good stuff. So it begins with the government at this point.
Oh, great, great, great. So I hope, of course, she's satisfied with your answer. And there's another one right here. We have a minute or so left in the segment, and we're going to see if we can squeeze in about two more questions here on my text line. This one comes from Ray, and Ray is all the way from Mandeville. Big up yourself, Solomon, and big up the Artworks team. And your special guest, Mr. Crawford, seems knowledgeable to answering the question. And I have a big question for him. And this one says, why do the teachers, of course, so much teachers have left off for USA in the coming summer to work, and why they didn't stay in Jamaica? What are your thoughts, Mr. Crawford?
Yes, well, it goes back to the fact that you cannot avoid the brain drain that's actually happening in Jamaica right now. It goes back to the fact that I mentioned that teachers are not even allowed to have side jobs, yeah, and the salary is not sufficient. If you should really begin to pencil out, as a single, most people are single parents. They don't really have the ability to, not the ability, but they do not have the support of a significant other when it comes to raising the kids and paying the bills and all those things, right? And you have a lot of persons who are living in a rent house. So let's take it. You probably have it. Let's narrow it down to one or two children, right? You have the children to feed. You have the rent to pay. You have the bills to pay, right? And you probably have a car loan. And then you have to be thinking about purchasing lunch, yeah,
Yeah.
to eat. Because the teacher nutrition, there are no. I don't see any attention being cast to teacher nutrition. Teachers need good nutrition, right?
And students,
all those things together, and you realize that the salary being paid to teachers is not even, it doesn't come close to being sufficient when a teacher can actually work and save. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So teachers need to get better opportunities. Teachers will need to leave in the summer or permanently so that they can get the foreign currency that will have just a little bit more weight. So they may be able to probably leave a small legacy for their children. You understand?
Yes. Wow.
Right.
Wow. Sounds good. Sounds good. I appreciate it. And this is another one here. Of course, let's take this final one. Of course, this one comes from Lenny. And Lenny is saying that, of course, enough respect, of course, to your special guest and your staff there, Solomon. And I am upset with the government in Jamaica, and of course, I have left Jamaica because of the situation. Because when you look at, he said, when you look at teachers, police, and so much different areas in Jamaica, the health service, and of course, it's so much that I couldn't, I couldn't understand why. Yes, he said I couldn't understand why the Prime Minister of Jamaica also looking for persons to employ to do job in Jamaica, and said it doesn't have as much workmen in Jamaica, so they have to employ from abroad. And it is very sad to see how Jamaica is going down to the dogs and the cats. And if we could solve the situation for the teachers and get back our teachers in Jamaica, he says he thinks this would be better off for us. And Mr. Crawford, please elaborate on some of the things that I said. Maybe you can't say all, but say what is on your heart. Oh, Jesus.
I totally agree with Sir Lenny, and his comment reminded me of something which will be my closing comments. If the government refused to give us to give what is due unto teachers, and I'm not talking just a salary, I'm speaking about safe environment and resources for teaching.
Wow.
Right? For those who care, right? The teachers have to take it. Now, the teachers are probably arguable, but from my perspective, from my view and my observation, teachers are the movers of every single society, right?
Yeah, they
if
are.
you check it from all the great philosophers, we still live with their teaching today, you understand? And teachers are probably the most important. Teaching is actually the most important profession, you understand? Because even if you have a doctor and that doctor is not able to impart knowledge, then knowledge will not move forward. Societies will not be built. What you call it now, technology will not increase, you understand? And so I believe that teachers should be treated better. And it's about time that our teachers take what is due unto them. When I was growing up, I used to witness powerful teachers, not just powerful in the classroom, but when it comes down to them claiming what is rightfully theirs, they would protest, and they would lock the schools, and not in a violent way, but just to show the government, listen, we are essential, you understand? And this, I hope the JTA president hears this part of my conversation, of my statement as well.
Okay, great to have you on Artworks Blazing FM. We're going to be giving you 30 seconds to just do a wrap, of course, either on the topic or in a generalizing of a thing. You're on, Mr. Crawford. Talk to the mass.
Well, that was me wrapping up, really. I'll take the 30 seconds to say I really appreciate those who are online, who actually listened in and gave their comments. And I really appreciate you, Sir Ken. It's been a long time that you wanted to have this. We agreed that we would have this conversation, but we were not able to get to it. But I really appreciate that the time presented itself, and it was good.
It was great. And of course, I know that, the type of course, text message that we're getting, it seems that they are engaged, you understand? And the topic, are eating like I'm eating a nail head, you understand? So there's also a text message suggests that we should bring a second segment on the same topic so we could organize it and come on. And of course, because they need much more questions to be answered and to be asked right here indeed on this topic. Thank you very much, sir, and have yourself a fantabulous day.
All right, my friend. Thank you. Have a great one.
Have a great day.
Shibboleth, you know this is all